my van, which is also my home, is at the mechanic. You can probably hear my dogs barking. I was hoping to be able to be in a friend of a friend's living room recording in the quiet, but a repair person came by and just threw off my entire morning. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Tiff and Tony Show. Hello, everyone. I was going to say good morning, but Tony, it's actually afternoon where you're at. So tell us where you are and how are you doing today?
Yes, good afternoon, almost good evening, actually. I am 8 hours ahead of you because I'm actually visiting England for a couple of weeks. And so I'm on the call from a place called Bishop Stortford in England. It's a place I grew up. My family's here, and there's my daughter. And we're visiting family. I've got a son. He's got a wedding coming up on Saturday, so we're out here visiting England, and tomorrow we're going to London, and we got a lot of stuff going on.
That sounds hopefully fun. I know you had a lot of things going on to get you to England, get you to Europe. I'm glad that you are there, and that sounds lovely. Some time away with your family.
Yeah, it's awesome, and it's been great so far. Just seeing people, friends, family, and all of that good stuff. So, but things change, right? And so we've been moving with it. It's been challenging because we've had to shift things around. Even the flight out here and getting out here was challenging. And so I thought today we'd talk about Plan B thinking. It's a skill that can be learned and developed. And so, what do you think of Plan B thinking? Tiffany, what do you think that is?
I think it's really relevant and really helpful. So I also needed to have a plan B this morning, as I was telling you a few minutes before we got on this call. My van, which is also my home, is at the mechanic. You can probably hear my dogs barking. So I have my 2 dogs and my boyfriend's dog tied up to a picnic table. They're wanting to play and just bark at every dog that goes by. And I was hoping to be able to be in a friend of a friend's living room recording in the quiet, but a repair person came by and just threw off my entire morning. So here we are. I apologize in advance if if all 3 dogs bark. Bear with me. And yes, so Plan B thinking. We have been talking so much these last many weeks about setting goals, planning for your life a decade ahead, 5 years ahead, one year ahead, what it looks like to plan for the day. And as we've mentioned before, our plans can change like that, out of our control, where we've got to be adaptable and flexible and figure out a plan B. So I want you to help us understand what tools we can use to have a plan B and what that looks like.
Yes, absolutely. And so I think one of the main things when we think about this Plan B thinking is we can get stuck in, so we set our life plan, right? And we get stuck in this, well, this is where I'm going. And unfortunately, this is where I'm going is never a straight line, right? And it's always kind of more of a meandering pathway to get there. And if we're too rigid and too stuck about what we want, then we can get very disappointed, very upset, very anxious. And so then we have this bad experience with what life could be. And so Plan B thinking allows us to sit there and go, okay, my life is going this direction. In 10 years time, I'm going to be living in a Dana Point home. That's the goal, right? That's the plan. Now to get there, it's not going to be this direct path to a Dana Point home, and it might not even be a Dana Point home. So what I've got to put in there, as much as that's my plan, I've also got to weave in there that it's also okay for me to be living in another town, in a different type of house than I could be wanting to. And it's this mindset that we go into that allows us to accept the current state. And it almost comes into this piece of the daily planning, right? When I sit down in the morning and I figure out what my major tasks are and where my day is going, I kind of write in there the major task, and then I write in there things that I'm grateful for. And what that actually helps me do is it actually really does lift the spirit, because that releases the dopamine that I'm thankful for something, and it goes, okay, I'm feeling good. So when something actually untoward happens, we can sit there and go, all right, that's a little different. That's a little bit off path. I'm going to move with that and go with the flow. And it's also this idea of, right, I've got a Dana Point home house plan, but then plan B might be somewhere else along the coast, right? Or even in a different city altogether. But it's just planting the thought that this doesn't happen, could be here.
How do we even come up with what a plan B could be?
I think a lot of that is in what we've already kind of addressed, right? Having a 10-year, 5-year, 1 year, and actually a plan where it's written down. If you remember a while ago, we talked about this idea of cognitive behavior therapy, right? Which is the idea that there's an external occurrence, an external activity, right? Which creates a thought, which then creates an emotion, which then creates this behavior or an action, which then gives me an outcome. Right. And so plan B thinking can be actually laid within that. I could actually sit there. A good example is today, you had a plan to work out of someone's living room, but then a maintenance guy come up, which meant that you couldn't. So that's the external activity, right?
Yep.
And so you could have sat there and really got frustrated, and then today could have wound down a hill because you could have gone, well, I don't like this activity. I don't like the fact that he's here, which is the thought. The emotion is a negative one. And so the behavior is you could kind of go at him and say, look, I've got something to do. Can you leave? Can you come back? Which would have created an outcome of someone being upset.
Right.
So plan B thinking, when you actually go through that, plan B thinking can say, I'm going to realign this because you can't change the external situation. That's going to happen, right? But what if we change our thinking towards it? Okay, right. What's the outcome I want? Well, I want a good, calm day. So the behavior has got to be almost go with the flow, right? The emotion has got to be a positive one, right? Oh, I'm thankful that something is being fixed. So what's the thought that would create that gratitude? Okay, I've got someone helping me out today. I can go to a park. I can get to enjoy the outdoors and still do the Tiff and Tony show. Yeah. So I think plan B thinking comes with writing stuff out. We've talked a lot about plans. It comes to writing stuff out. If you can write it out, then that actually in itself helps you to look at the plan and go, what's a plan B if that doesn't work? Something comes up. Well, where can I go to next? What can I do next?
So I think that's so helpful because our brains already want to do that. Our brains already want to come up with a plan B, a plan C, because they're wired to help us survive. And then hopefully the goal is to be thriving. It can be so simple. It can be something that, you wrote out like in a journal if some, your plans change that day, or even if you don't have the time to necessarily write it out, like I might not have had the time this morning to like go through that process in a more like written day. But that's exactly what my brain did. I was like, okay, I was walking down to the park after I figured out my plans and realized, you know what, I am really grateful to be out of the house today because I probably would have just been inside all day and AC, which is nice. But I love being outside. So I was able to have that moment of gratitude and say, you know what, it's okay that my plans changed. I am now able to be outside. The dog's got an extra walk and we're good. We're doing it. We're here. There's some background noise from the dogs and that's okay. Exactly.
Yeah. And I think it's important for us, like I said, it's a skill that you can learn. And if it's a skill you can learn, it means you can get better at it. Yes. And so the idea is, instead of getting stuck in this rut of it's got to be this way, noticing where your brain is going in that moment, and then, like I said, writing stuff down is the best thing because it gives you the skill to then change and move. So if you find yourself doing that, then you can adjust accordingly, take a deep breath, look at what's around you and change. The reason we're talking about this today is because over the last couple of weeks, I've had to do that a lot with planning this trip and now even being on this trip. We're supposed to be going somewhere tomorrow. That's changed. We're going somewhere different. And so the whole family has to be a little bit more flexible and yeah, roll with it. And I think
Yes.
that's the important part. Can we roll with the punches? Can we move
Yes.
with the flow and allow the world to unfold? Be deliberate about what we do. Have our plans, but don't get so attached to them that we lose our way because of it. Sometimes it's okay to sit there and go, okay, that's gone. I need to let that one go. What's my next plan?
Take those few minutes either during it's happening or afterwards if you need to validate your feelings, because there may still be those feelings of grief, loss, disappointment, anger, frustration. It's okay to feel those things. It's just what we do with them. And so that is our challenge to you, is to think of ways that you can have a plan B. And you might be experiencing that right now as you're watching this video, or right after. It might be something that maybe you don't face until tomorrow or next week. But I think we all know at this point that it is inevitable that what we think and hope is going to happen will probably change at some point. And so have your plan B, encourage yourself, validate those feelings, and just act in a way that helps you take the best path forward in that moment.
100%. I love that. And validating the feelings, their feelings. We all experience them. We're human beings. And so feelings come and feelings go. So just let them be and work through them for sure. Yes. I'm sitting here actually kind of happy that I've got as green a scenery as you have this morning.
It's pretty cool. I love seeing those trees behind you. It's lovely. I know.
English backyard right there, look. So that's where I'm staying in England, and that is a chicken down there.
I love that. You will enjoy those fresh eggs. I'm sure they'll be delicious. Yes. Well, thank you so much for your time, Tony, and all of your wisdom and knowledge and advice. I always love getting to hang out with you, even when it's virtual. I hope you enjoy so many aspects of the rest of your trip. Safe travels back. And thank you, everyone. We'll talk to you next time.
See ya.
Bye. Thank you so much for joining Tony and me in this week's episode of the Tiff and Tony Show. We hope you feel encouraged and motivated to keep growing with us. If you like what we do here at Pure Game, one of the best ways you can support us is by liking and sharing this video with your friends on the social media. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel using the button directly below this video on YouTube, and you can donate at our website, www.thepuregame.org. And with that, we'll see you right back here next week.